Practical NLP podcast with me, Andy Smith. Catch up on previous episodes at nlppod.com. Our guest this week is my old friend Margaret Nash, NLP trainer, more recently coach, and even more recently author. Margaret has some fascinating methods to share with us in this interview about how to get the best from yourself using a method called self-modeling. Listen on to hear more. Welcome, Margaret, to the Practical NLP podcast.
Well, thank you, Andy. It's lovely to be here.
Yeah, so just before we started recording, we were thinking about how we met, and it's actually so long ago that neither of us could exactly remember the circumstances. Probably, we think, at the NLP group in London.
Yes.
But subsequent to that, Margaret co-trained with me on some of my courses, and in particular teaching my students the official version of timeline therapy, which I wasn't certified to teach, even though I used it all the time. So for the benefit of our listeners, I want to ask how you got into NLP originally.
We're going way back.
Okay.
Way back before I met you. I'm an American, but I was living in England, and I was a trainer, a business trainer, and traveled all around Europe, working in high-tech companies, doing business training in sales and management, and always trying to keep my ear to the ground. You know, you had to keep on top of your game. When you're doing business training, that's one thing I like about it. And I kept hearing this thing called NLP, and we'd have HR people saying, "Do you know about NLP? Do you know about?" And so, of course, we'd say, "Oh, yeah, of course we do." And so I figured I'd probably better get moving on it. And so signed up for a course in London, and a weekend, thought I could learn all of it in a weekend. Find out about it and just get the hang of it. And I think I emerged about 4 years later, kind of drooling and in trance and kind of totally obsessed with it. And did a whole bunch of trainings, some of which you've done as well. We both trained with Tad James and David Shepard and Topher Morrison.
Topher Morrison, not so much for me. I've seen him do a session at either the NLP conference or an NLP group, but no formal training from Topher for me.
He taught me hypnosis.
Right.
I went to California. Did you go to California to do your trainer's training?
Training, yeah. Costa Mesa.
Yes. I mean, you got to go somewhere, don't you? And yeah, so I did the whole gamut. I spent a lot of money that I didn't have to do it. But I think, like you just get obsessed with it, you know, when you really get into it. So that's how I started.
Okay, cool.
And then stopped doing the business training and went off into NLP training.
Right, yes.
Personal development, yeah.
Yeah, and what, hypnotherapy and one-to-one stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I did hypnotherapy for about 15 years. I don't do it quite so much now.
Okay.
I got tired of smokers.
I got tired of smokers very, very early on. Yeah, which is terrible from a marketing point of view if you're a therapist, because this is my pet theory, right, about business models for hypnotherapists. Sort out somebody, stop them smoking, they will go and tell all their friends about it, all their smoker friends, and they'll be forming a queue to your door. Help somebody lose weight, they'll tell a lot of their friends about it. Help somebody get past like erectile dysfunction or bedwetting or, you know, childhood abuse, whatever, they are not going to tell anyone about it, and they just actually want to forget about you as well, because they just want to put it all behind them. So unfortunately, those were the kind of things that I specialized in, the sort of deeper stuff. But
my problem with giving up, I got hooked on the smoking because of helping people with smoking, because it's such an easy sell.
Yeah.
There are smokers everywhere, and they all think hypnosis is the answer because they feel like they'll just come in and you'll do it to them.
Yeah.
And they don't have to do anything. And so it's an easy sell, and it's hard to get away from that. But I finally did.
Yeah. On the other hand, it works quite a high proportion of the time, and
It
does do them. It's a really good thing for them to
oh,
to free them
absolutely.
from that. So
Absolutely.
So yeah, we were doing good in the world
Back then.
well, still are, but in different ways.
I know.
Yeah. So I always ask people this: what's been, if you can pick one, what's been one of your best experiences of NLP or with NLP?
That's an interesting question. I would say my favorite technique, or the thing that I've used the most throughout the 20 years that you and I have been in this business, I would say the one thing that stands out to me that I use every time I'm with a client. How will that do for answering that question?
That will do fine. Okay, yeah, go on.
Because I can't think of a particular. I'm not sure what you're getting at with the question about best experience.
Yeah, I think I was going for, if you had some kind of peak experience with NLP, some amazing breakthrough or aha moment, or
oh God, that's got to be manifesting then. Goal setting.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, that's exciting. I guess it was way back in England, in Reading. And I had just qualified with the NLP and the hypnosis. And I was looking for a place to work. And I kind of had a local kind of place where therapists could go and rent a room, but it wasn't very exciting there. And it clearly wasn't my office or anything. And I was going to see this chiropractor, homeopath, kind of very well-known alternative creature in Reading for my back. I had problems with my back, and he was just awesome. He had ponytail. He was energetic, and when he walked into the room, he said, "Oh, this room is crowded with your guides," that sort of thing. So I was immediately hooked with him, and he had this beautiful clinic. And I walked out of there the first time, and I thought, I would die to be able to work in this clinic. And so I immediately set out and started doing the manifesting stuff that I had just learned and hadn't really put into practice yet. And, setting a goal that he invited me to work in his clinic because he thought I was so awesome and all of this, and I just kept repeating it and affirming it and doing all the stuff. I didn't know if it was true, and I had never done it before. And on our last session together, we had I think a 6-week session, and we would chat about what I did and things like that while sessions were going on. The last one, he said, "I'm really looking for someone who does hypnotherapy to work here. Would you be interested?" And I said, it was really weird. I went cold. It wasn't like, oh, excitement and all this. I just went cold, and I could hardly speak, but I did manage to say yes quite promptly. And it went on from there. So I think that was kind of oh my goodness, this stuff works. What else can I use it for? So
yeah, nice convincer moment.
Yes.
Be interesting to think about the mechanics of how that works, actually.
Oh my goodness.
If we weren't thinking about the kind of, I think they call it metaphysics of it. I guess
I learned it from Ted.
Yeah, I know. I know, and he's bringing various sort of shamanic things to it.
Exactly. Yeah. I was doing everything.
Yeah. So I guess if that becomes your image of yourself, then you start behaving in ways that make it true.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the conversation, I noticed that the conversation when I was with him during treatments and things like that, it would somehow turn to what I was doing in my work and things like that. Just casually. It may not have if I hadn't been affirming this, making the affirmations all the time. So, you kind of create your reality, don't you? And you become open to, the signals and things like that.
Yeah, and you're sending out signals to other people and they pick up on it consciously or unconsciously.
Yes. All of that stuff going on.
Okay. So next thing I often ask people is, who do you really admire in NLP, and or what are you excited about in NLP right now?
Oh, right now?
Yeah.
I would say the thing I'm using the most right now is the self-modeling.
Right. Do you want to say a bit about what that is and how it works?
Okay. NLP is based on modeling, as you all know and your audience knows, modeling excellence. The self-modeling I find particularly exciting because what you're doing is you're modeling your own success. And so instead of modeling someone else who's successful, which really works, great fan of that, you model what you do well. So you take something that is a piece of cake for you, just something that you can do well, and you choose something that's not a skill like everybody has. Like going on Facebook and doing pithy quotes and things like that on there doesn't count. It's like, it's got to be something that's a little bit rare and valuable, as Cal Newport would say. But it's easy for you. For various reasons, you've either got experience in it or you have a natural talent for it or whatever. You can do this thing and you can be successful in it. And so what you do you want to talk about this now?
I really do, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So what you do is you take that skill that you can do and you really examine your own thinking about it, your own attitude towards it when you've got an assignment to do it or you've got to do it. What are you saying to yourself? How are you feeling? But the most important thing is when you are doing it and things go wrong, what's your recovery process? And how do you get out of it? And that's the key. And so then you take all of that and then you think about something that you haven't been so successful in. And we all have it. Let's share here. We all have these areas where we're not so good. And so you look at that and you look at, okay, when you have to be doing that, what are you saying to yourself? What are you thinking? What are you feeling? How do you feel about yourself? And more importantly, when it starts to go wrong, what do you do? And so then you map over the good things, you look at the differences, and then the next time you have to do this difficult task, you map over your skills and particularly your recovery. I'll give you an example and just step into that. I'll give you an example is, okay, with my experience of training from way back, I hate to say how long, back in the dark ages, I've been designing training programs and training in front of groups. I can speak in front of any size group and I'm not nervous. It's not a totally rare skill, but not everybody has it. So I think of what I do when I'm preparing for doing something in front of a group, some training. What do? Well, I tell myself, you got this. You got this, you've done it, been doing it for years, you know what you have to do. And my motto is professionals don't wing it. We practice, practice, practice. We prepare, and we don't leave anything to chance. And so if like I'm preparing a talk or something and I then practice it and it sounds really weird or awful, no big deal. I just start again. Yeah. Okay, we take as you know, my technical skills are not fantastic. We've had a few little instances when I haven't been able to get things to you. What do I do in that situation? I tell her, oh, God, I've got to do this. I'm no good at this. Why am I having to do this? I'm no good at it. Why can't I find somebody to do it for me? I'm not going to be able to do this. I know I won't. And then when things go bad, what do? I hang it up.
Mhm.
I hang it up. I just quit. I can't do this. And so if I have something to do that's technical, that's a really big thing. I try to map over this thing of, I can do this. I just got to keep persisting. Who is it that says faith is really just, Mitch Horowitz says that faith is just persistence. Just getting there and keep doing it, So, and I map that over, and it really works when I think to do it.
Right. So not giving up at the
And not
first
giving
hurdle.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, or whatever it is that you do well that works for you.
Okay. So I'm really interested in the recovery strategy bit.
Yes, that's the key.
So you're saying that's the key. So maybe give us an example of what could happen, what could go wrong if you're like training or presenting, and how you recover from it.
Okay. Well, you mean when I'm actually doing
it? Yeah. The stuff you're good at. Yeah.
Well, one of the things is I'm always prepared. I always have notes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how often I've done it. I can remember my trainer who trained me to do business training said that he had done a program for 6 months, and he'd done it, almost every day for 6 weeks, and he'd done the same thing every day. And so one day he got up a bit late and he ran in and he left his notes behind, and he stood up in front of the group and he said, I got this, I know what I'm doing here. And he stood up in front of the group and his mind went completely blank, and he had no notes in front of him. So he said, always bring your notes. He said, never, ever. So that's one thing. That would be one thing. Recovery plans. We were given numerous things to do with TAD. Do you remember in the trainer's training? What I remember the most from it is the training persona. I don't know if you remember that. TAD insisted you step into your training persona.
Mm-hmm.
And a training persona was your professional persona. And you just imagine the best trainer and what they would be thinking and saying and feeling. And you step into that role and you become bulletproof. And so if something goes wrong in the training, I just anchor back into the training persona. I step back from it and I don't take anything personally. And remember, he just said, if something goes wrong, just stop. Don't start yapping. Don't start yapping about, oh gosh, I forgot my notes, or I can't remember what I was saying here. Does anybody know? You don't start yapping. Just step back, step out of, metaphorically, step back from yourself and shut up. And he said, it'll seem like an eternity to you, but to the group, it's just a second or two. And then just get back into re-anchor your professional persona and get back into the flow. Look at your notes, stop for a moment, look at your notes, take as long as you need, because it's only going to be seconds and the group isn't going to think anything. They're going to think it's deliberate. Take a look at your notes and start again. So that would be a successful technique that I've learned from something that I'm good at that I don't have for other things because I don't have the experience and the trainings, perhaps.
Yeah. So this whole thing is really interesting, I think. As you were saying, modeling something that you're good at, and really getting into the how of how you do it. This is immediately made me think of Marcus Buckingham and Ashley Goodall's reasonably recent book, 9 Lies About Work, where they are dissecting the idea really of critical feedback and saying, this usually says more about the feedback giver than the person who is receiving the feedback. And actually, most managers have got it the wrong way around, and they'll go into extreme detail on all the stuff you did wrong. But usually, if you do something really well, they'll say, "Well, this was aimed at the American market," so they say, "Good job," or something like that, as indeed Tad used to, and that would be the end of the conversation.
Right.
And that's all you get to hear about it. Whereas what they're saying is, it should be the start of the conversation, and you should ask them about how they did it. And the idea being that people are, that encourages them to do more of it in future through behavioral reinforcement. But also, people do things well in so many different ways. And they have their own way of doing it. So you're looking at the way that works for you. And you know it works for you because it's worked in the past.
Yes, absolutely.
So this is a real interest, because I'm very much into appreciative inquiry these days as well, which is all about looking at what's working now and in the past, even if only partially, and doing more of it and building on it.
Yeah.
So this is really interesting.
Very similar.
So do we have, I usually ask my interviewees for something that my listeners can take away and try out in terms of like a technique or a pattern or a procedure. Is there something around self-modeling that they could do?
Yes. Well, really, we just did it a little while ago.
Okay. So let's set out the steps explicitly.
It's literally, I think, 3 steps.
Okay.
You take something, think of something that you're really good at, and you are, and you're confident, and really examine how you do that. Go ahead.
Yeah, this may take some time because, of course, people tend to play down the things they're good at because it's just like natural to them.
Well, like with me, it was prepare, practice. Don't skimp on that. It pay you dividends, and memorizing your first sentence when you stand up in front of a group, because there have been instances when very experienced people completely choke. So it's little things like that. Exactly. So anyway, you model what you do well and how you do it. And you think about what you feel about yourself about it, and what you're saying to yourself is, oh, I got this. Oh, I can do this. I've got experience in this. Yeah, I'm good at this. I know what to do. Excuse me. And then you think about what happens when things go wrong. You stop. You look at your notes. You don't mind just being quiet. Don't yap about how you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you're scared, and you've never talked about this thing before. The number of people who stand up in front of a group and say, "Oh, I'm really scared to be here today. I'm really nervous, and I've never talked about this before, and I'm not an expert." And you say, "Well, sit down and shut up. I don't want to hear
why
you."
would we listen to you?
Anyway, that was a sidetrack. Okay, so you think about how you recover when things go wrong. Okay, and then you take something you're not so good at, that you can't do and you haven't been able to be successful at, and you examine the same things. What are you saying to yourself? How do you feel about it? How do you feel about yourself? What's your recovery process, which is usually just to hang up your spurs and do something else and give up. No persistence. Notice the difference, and then map over the qualities of the good, the successful thing. And the reason, on to what's not so successful, and the reason this is so powerful is because you can do it. It's not something somebody else can do. It's something you can do. I have these qualities of persistence. I have these qualities of preparation. I have these qualities of, of looking things up if I don't know the answer.
And this because you've got loads of reference experiences of doing it with the thing that you're good at.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
so that's it. So so the 3 steps then are choose something that you're good at, and model how you do that.
Yes. Particularly the recovery process.
Especially the recovery process, which is super important and probably not talked enough about when modeling's taught, I think.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, super important, because of course things will sometimes go wrong, or the
and
unexpected
of course,
will happen.
I picked this up from Michael Neal, by the way, just for clarity there, for transparency. Yeah.
Right. Michael Neal, the author of Super Coach. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't read it, I confess. But yeah, I remember.
It's tweaked a bit because I've been using it for several years now. So I've kind of tweaked it, but that was the original impetus for it. But the original thing comes from NLP modeling. So yeah.
Okay. So, and then look at the same things with the thing you're not good at, not just what do you do, but how are you doing it? What are you telling yourself? What are you feeling? Even things like how you're standing and how you're breathing. And
absolutely.
And then what happens if you start doing the thing you weren't good at in the style of the thing that you are good at?
Yes.
Yeah. And then you do something different there. And because you're doing something different, you probably get better results.
Yes. Yeah. And just absolutely. And just looking at the qualities that are really in your successful thing. Like with me, it was persistence. With things I'm good at, I'm persistent. I have faith in it. I just persist at it. I don't give up. Whereas the things I'm not good at, Spanish.
Margaret lives in Mexico. I should point out to our listeners.
Okay, we're not going there.
No, okay.
That'll be my challenge. I'll do this persistence onto my Spanish and see what happens. I haven't done it yet.
Just as an intellectual exercise.
Why not?
Yeah. Cool. So this also makes me think of Carol Dweck's work about mindset, of fixed or growth mindsets, where people think this is psychology now, it's not NLP,
right?
But it's relevant and useful nevertheless. That people with a fixed mindset think they are good at certain things, bad at other things, and they're just like naturally good or bad at them. And people with growth mindsets believe they can get better at doing anything if they persist at it.
Okay.
And so this was originally from studying children's attitude to learning, I think. And originally it's from how kids are praised, that if they're praised for qualities, then they tend to get this fixed mindset. They tend to think, I am smart, or I am, beautiful, or whatever. And if something ever happens that they can't do, possibly the whole bubble bursts and they think, I'm not smart after all. So the temptation for them is to avoid challenges and just stick to the things that they can look good at. And
so the alternative is to praise them for effort
and persistence, and just instill the belief that they can improve at anything,
right?
And people with that mindset, growth mindset, relish challenges, and they tend to do better over time. It
makes total sense.
So no, this is really interesting how it's kind of intersecting with all the stuff I'm interested in.
We should talk more.
we should probably talk more. Collaborate, develop a world-beating course, whatever.
Okay, I'm there.
So what was I going to ask you? You've written several books, haven't you? Seven books so far.
My seventh is just up.
So, and these are mainly in, what's it called? It's not. I've got Aging Hippie in my head. Is that right?
It started out as the Old Hippie at Heart series.
The Old Hippie at Heart, right?
And I got so many complaints about the old that I just changed it to the Hippie at Heart self-help series.
Complaints from all these old hippies, right?
Absolutely, they knew who they were, but they didn't like the moniker. So I quite like Old Hippie at Heart because that's what I am. But but the two new books, I've started a new little guidebook series called Shortcuts to Success.
Right.
And it's for to accelerate your self-development, just a very quick easy to understand guides to, hacks in the personal development field, in coaching and NLP and all that. So
that's what this
the
generation wants, right,
short
Margaret?
books, yes. Can read in under 2 hours.
Yeah. So so your latest one, I'm going to pop up an image of it on the screen on the recording. Life coaches, find your zen and step up your game. Yep. So do you want to say a little bit about that? I know you wrote it ages ago.
No, I didn't. It was just a few months ago. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So probably you can still remember something.
It was just up last week. Yeah. And the title is a bit tongue in cheek, of course. It's not totally serious, but I was going to call it "And Bring Your A Game," but I thought that was a little over the top. So step up your game. The idea being that, it starts out with it's about 5. I call it 5 coaching insider secrets that you don't learn when you're training to be a coach. Things they don't teach you. And it started out with an experience I had in Northern California this time, not LA, when I had been coaching for about 10 years, and I went on an advanced coaching course to kind of, hone my skills a bit. And one of the things we had to do on this course was we had to practice with other coaches, do practice sessions, mock sessions. And this particular day, I had a very experienced coach who was my partner, and he had written tons of books. He was quite well known. And so I was a little bit intimidated and trying to, bring my best game to it. And so his feedback, so we had a session together, and his feedback to me was, "You're working too hard." And I went, because that's not what you want to hear. And he said, you need to let the client do the work, not you. You're doing it all. And I was so embarrassed, but I knew. And then he said, "You need to find your zen as a coach." And so I knew he was right, but it was like, but it was the best advice I've been given, because then it really changed how I approached coaching. I recognized that I was trying too hard, and when you try too hard, you choke. And you're not in flow, and you're not in the zone. And so I was trying so hard to be a good coach that I was just imposing myself on my clients. And so this forced me to look into my coaching, and I found 5 things that I was not doing. And that nobody had told me about. Well, actually, one of them is stepping into your persona. So that's not true. I had learned it, but I hadn't applied it to coaching. I had applied it to training, but not to having a coaching persona.
Right.
And,
so this will be a prime example of how you could take the qualities that you had in one area and map them over to
absolutely area. All of them are based on NLP, all of them. So so that's what the book is about. It's these 5 insider secrets that
don't tell us what the other ones are.
Okay, I won't.
But I mean, that one in itself is extremely valuable.
We've already talked about it.
I'm about halfway through the book so far, and I will be reviewing it. I will be posting a review of it because I think it's really good. I'd say it's something that it's worth every coach reading. It's not about coaching techniques. No. It's about how you need to be as a coach, and how you deploy what you've learned as a coach, how you choose between the skills and when to use them, and the state you need to be in, and so on. Yes. And I was very pleased to find that actually, when I'm coaching people, even more than when I'm training, actually, I think I do automatically step into that persona. So
you're a very zen person anyway, Andy. You're not like me, all over the place.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised.
Loud and here and there and all this. And it really the things I learned really, really helped my coaching. And now and the reason I know it's helped it is now I I keep clients for a long time, and typically, not everybody, obviously, but I have clients that stay with me. And the other thing is, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And when I went in and he had given me that advice, I wasn't enjoying it. I was nervous. I was uptight, like a trainer who's not enjoying it. Immediately, and it makes your client unrelaxed if you're not in your Zen place. So
yeah. So yes, this makes me think of a bit of NLP jargon: uptime and downtime, where downtime is your attention is within you, and you're sort of, I'm feeling, whatever. Uptime, you're not even aware of how you feel, because all your attention is on the client. It's outside yourself.
Yes, that's it. Exactly. Thanks. Can I put that in the book? That'll be an addendum.
It's jargon. I think you've expressed really well in the book what it is anyway, so people will recognize it. I'm just throwing this in for the presumably everyone listening to the podcast will be an NLP buff, so if they haven't come across uptime and downtime before, then it's a useful concept.
Yeah, no, that's spot on.
Yeah. So what should I ask you to kind of finish up? Apart from, I'm going to ask where can people find you and stuff in a minute, but yeah. So normally I ask people, what do you wish for the field of NLP in the future? I'm going to say, what do you wish for the field of NLP or coaching in the future?
For myself or for the field, or
both of those things, I think.
It's one of the things I touch on in the book. Actually, is for people to just be aware of the differences between coaching and mentoring and training and therapy, and to be aware, this is something, I think those lines get so blurred so often. And I think coaches frequently, especially those of us who were NLP trained, because there's so much kind of a therapeutic kind of feel towards timeline therapy and a therapeutic kind of jargon and everything in it. And we're not therapists. We're not trained as therapists. Well, I'm assuming you're not, maybe you are, but as a coach and an NLP practitioner, we're not therapists. And I think it's just important for people to remember the difference, because
there is a real difference between.
So blurred. Yes.
Yeah.
To know when to not deal with somebody and to refer them to someone else. Sorry.
Yeah. So the classical idea of the NLP practitioner, it's like it's almost like a skilled mechanic looking at a car that's gone wrong and seeing where it goes wrong, and if we just adjust this thing here and like that. Whereas coaching, at least the, what do you call it in the book, empowerment coaching type thing, asking people the questions, and the idea is the wisdom is within them, and it comes out, but you've got to ask the right questions. It out of them. But there are strands of that within NLP, especially coming from Ericksonian hypnotherapy, working with the unconscious, and bringing it out.
And it's easy for those of us with a hypnotherapy background and NLP training as coaches to blur those lines. I think it's very easy for us, because we do, with timeline therapy, you do deal with like issues from the past, and that's exactly what we do. And we just need to be careful there, as I go on more and more, I refuse to have certain clients, I had someone approach me the other day who, he emailed me and said, I've got, I had abuse issues and with, when I was a child and this and that, and I want hypnotherapy to put it right. I said, it's not, I can't do that in 2 or 3 sessions of hypnotherapy. You need, have you had any other kind of therapy, before with this? And he wouldn't answer me, and so I sadly had to. He just wanted me to do some magic on him. And so I think and it wasn't worth it to me to deal with that.
I think you have to work with where you want to work and the type of clients that you want to work with, because some people will be like, come on in, and especially if they specialize in those areas. Okay. So being aware of the distinctions, and there's still a lot of discussion going on about this with just the other day, this is from a solution focused therapy Facebook group where they were discussing the client being the expert, but the therapist has to be the expert about therapy and what questions to ask and so on.
Yes, yeah.
So this is still ongoing, and it's really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you are in you're in Mexico, but do you work like remotely, or is this with clients within Mexico?
No. I work mostly. My clients are in England and in the States. So there's time differences we have to work out. But like, for instance, this is still early morning for me here in Mexico. I haven't had my breakfast yet, but it's like 5 o'clock in the afternoon for you, I believe.
It is, yeah.
So yes, I work online remotely. Most of my clients are online.
Okay.
And and I do no video, so that if people are self-conscious about what they look like on video, they don't have to. And I find that people are quite comfortable with that.
Okay, so it's just a sort of nice audio experience.
Yes.
Interesting.
On the computer. I don't use the phone. I use either Zoom or what's a lot easier is Facebook Messenger. Just calls on. It works really. It's easier. You don't have to book it ahead of time and Zoom calls.
Okay. So where can they find you? What's your website?
MargaretNashCoach.com.
MargaretNashCoach.com.
Yes. That's my website. And the books are on Amazon under, there's several Margaret Nashes, by the way.
Oh, really?
Thinking of that. Yeah, there's a children's author called Margaret Nash. So it's not me.
You're not that one. Right?
No. My books are all on self-help and coaching. And I have one book on assertiveness for women, assertiveness skills for women, a book on retirement, called The Retirement Rebel. And so a variety. My main book is my kind of key book is called Rebellious Aging.
Right. Okay. Now I'll put a link to your author page in the show notes.
Thank you.
And I guess also on the video. Yeah, there are quite a lot. So here we go. Yeah. Rebellious Aging, The Retirement Rebel, Drop the Drama.
That's got a lot of NLP in it, by the way, the drop the drama.
Okay. Well, Margaret, I better let you go and get some breakfast. Go get some huevos rancheros or whatever you're going to have, and some kind of breakfast anyway.
Yeah.
And it's been lovely catching up with you after all these years.
Really has. And we've got to do it more.
We have got to do it more. All right.
This is fun. Yeah.
So that's a wrap for the podcast, and we'll probably get you back on at some point in the future.
I would love it. I would love it. Thank you. Bye-bye, Andy.
Bye.
That's it for this week's podcast. Remember, you can see the show notes for this episode at nlppod.com, and you can download back episodes you may have missed from the online store at webstore.nlppod.com. See you next time.